Morning, everybody. So, I have been wanting a facing tool to go with my line boring rig for quite a while, but I'm not just flowing with cash, and Climax and everybody else wants huge money that I've seen for theirs. So, here I've been kind of watching these Chinese ones, and here, I don't know, a few weeks ago, I noticed that one of the sellers had put them on sale, and they were like $300 or something. And I thought, you know what? For $300, I think we're going to take a little gamble on this. So anyways, I bought the biggest one that they had, which is a 50 millimeter bore. Now, unfortunately, that's only about 2 inches. And so now I've got to figure out how to adapt this thing to my 2¼ inch bar. So that's why I've got it all tore apart here. But I thought you guys might find some of the build features interesting. Some of the build features are straight up cobble jobs. Like, I don't know if you can see, but this nut is crazy crooked. Their solution for that was to go into this pocket and machine some screwy offsets in that thing so that the nut can sit flat. So, I mean, there's some of that where you're like, oh my goodness. These Chinese guys, you gotta give them an A for ingenuity, but a total F on execution of properly machined parts. But anyways, that you come to expect. Here's the stuff that's going to be more challenging for me, though. So, let's see if we can actually get a picture of this. So, here is the bore, which you can see is real close to 2 inches. So the way this thing works is they've got a little notch, pocket, cavity, I don't know what you want to call it, that this ring, this ring pops into, and it was a pain in the butt to get apart. They really don't intend for you to disassemble that. This part is basically pressed in and then snaps into place past that little shoulder, and then that's it. I was able to drive a screwdriver in here and do some prying and get it to pop out, but it wasn't very good for it. Matter of fact, there's still some slivers hanging around here from where it shaved the edges a bit coming out, but they just flat out never intended for you to take that thing apart again. Doesn't much like that gap there. I've got this screw just snugged up. I'm not wanting to pinch it down, but I feel it moving a little. I might have to drive a wedge in there and then tighten it up on it. I feel it moving a bit. I don't like that. Well, we just hit cleanup. Got a ways to go to finished bore dimension. I'm cheating at this direction. I may have to fudge where my center line and my hole is, depending on what I think of the looks of what it's doing up there at the base of the feed screw. I don't want the feed screw to hit my boring bar. There we are. Drew a blank there for a minute. Alright, we are getting really close. So I don't know if you can see it, but I'm breaking through into this pocket for the bolt in there. Like, we are just skimming. I'm not sure if I might end up just touching the edge of that bolt in the middle too. Might have to take the bolt and like relieve the center of it a little bit, make it hourglass shape so that it doesn't touch the shaft. But so if anybody else tries this, just be forewarned, like it's nip and tuck whether there's enough meat in here and clearance to pull this off, and I still haven't proven that we can, but anyway, just keep that in mind. In theory, this is my finished pass. I actually bumped it, the hole that way a little bit because I was starting to nick the bolt pretty hard. I decided I could afford to lose a little bit more up at the top, so I bumped it over 5 thousandths and advanced the tool 10. So we're cutting all the way around the hole. This is the hole location now. I mean, this is where it's going to be at. It's just a question of whether the diameter needs to be skimmed a little bit more after I get through with this pass or not. Alright guys, so this boring head, if you can call it that, I actually made out of a piece of the same chrome shafting that my portal line borer. So I hit my number dead on the money, which by the way is 2 thou of clearance. I don't want to have to fight this thing on and off the bar. These are actually 2.248 and I bored that to 2.25. So let's see here what happens if I try snugging this up. Look at that. It's just what I was assuming would happen. It's enough that it goes loose so it slides off easy, and one little snug and she's got her. So, alright guys, there it is. We've got her bored to fit the bar. Now we just got to figure out how to engineer the feed mechanism on it. Alright, so this thing is way too tight on this slide. I've got out my die maker stones, and I have stoned and stoned and stoned in there and got it to where it's pretty snug but a sliding fit. Before you couldn't turn this, and now I can turn it and slide it through there. And then I run into the next snag, which is you clamp this on and it locks it up, and it's because there's a slight step here. That block is thinner than this. So the solution I'm going to fix that with is I'm going to go put this on the surface grinder and relieve it just outside of those bolt holes a little bit. So we'll get you set up and show you that. Alright, so she's snug, but I can turn her now. So I think we're going to stop there. This is fairly rough machining. I think if anything I'm going to stone that a bit now. But, so this part's done. I just have to come up with a replacement for this whole mechanism now. Okay. So, Wiggles and I actually already did a little bit of work to this thing. We set it up in the radial drill. These holes are 12 millimeter, and this, because it's a half-inch square broach, it needs a half-inch round pilot hole. So we dropped through there with a half-inch drill bit and just opened that up. So now, get ready to broach our way out.
So that's just for a digger?
Yep, exactly.
Then eventually when it gets up to there, it's going to be a
it'll
square?
be a half-inch square hole, yep. See that, how it's... There she is. This square brooch, by the way, is very expensive. It's
So you got-
$270 or something.
Jeez.
Yeah, so try to be very careful with it. Alright, so while I was playing with this, which by the way I've got it moving pretty good, I discovered that this little star wheel, crank this booger around, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera. Anyway, I'll see if I can make it show up. There's a, yeah, you're not going to be able to see it. But anyway, there's a crack in it right there. It's split. I'm assuming that thing is hardened. And they didn't get their fits right, pressed it too much, and it split the sucker. I'd like to ignore it, but I'm afraid that if I do, I will end up severely regretting it. So, that said, I am going to try. It's a little scary, but I'm going to try and sneak in here. And just not even add any filler metal, just get in there with the TIG and just basically flow the crack together a little. See if I can reinforce it a bit without doing anything too crazy.
Anyway.
Alright, that's a quick take a measurement over here. Gotta figure out how big this needs to be. 30. Thousandths to remove right now. So, here she is. I went ahead and ended up using this. I was going to make one from scratch, mostly because that pin is a little below center line. I don't know if you can see it in there. I didn't like it, but I got tired of fighting with it and went ahead and used it. So I've just made a bronze sleeve that slides on here. I got rid of the needle bearing. It wouldn't fit my application. So as you can see, every time this thing swings around, it grabs that peg and flips it one time. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and oil this thing up a bit and just let her spin here a little and see what I think of how she works. It actually runs smoother than I expected it to. And then one of the features of this is it's got this drive lug on the back so you can run the thing back out. I'm going to quick do that to it. Alright everybody, so I took it apart, flipped this over so that my clamp screw is on the leading edge. Now you always want the force to be driving your tool bit back in. The problem otherwise, how do I put this? You've got all kinds of leverage here, right? You're hanging out. If its point of contact is really back here at the screw, you'll get a lot more chatter out of your tool than if it's getting shoved into the sharp corner here. It's like using a crescent wrench backwards, right? Or an adjustable wrench. So anyways, flip that, and then this had ended up where it was looser than I wanted it, so I took this plate as long as I had it apart, and you can see I just dusted the top of it to make sure I had some flat surface, and then I flipped it over and I had, ground those steps in it, started skimming the section in the middle until I got it down to where it slides but with no feelable play in it. So we're gonna let her spin here a minute and see how she feels. Intentionally not grabbing this hard because I'd like to not get my hand ripped off if something jams up and it doesn't turn freely. So here's what we've ended up with, everybody. You can see, looking at this, how far off center I bored, because that's part of that little retaining groove that this thing used to be held on by, and that was centered on the bore, so we've off-center bored this by a good 1/8 of an inch. But it worked out. We did not break through into the bolt threads. I don't know if I pointed that out. We just started breaking through into the pocket for the head, but not into any of the threads, so we're okay there. And then this thing, I ended up using it, but ditching the roller bearing that was in it and just making a bronze bushing with a slot in it that slides on. So that's probably the biggest variation from how this originally was. Is originally the ring that was the equivalent of this was captured in that groove. It all stayed with this part. But at this point, that just wasn't practical to do. There's not enough material in here to try and replicate that. Well, maybe you could, but we're not using that piece anymore, Wiggles. That's what I'm telling them about. I got rid of those parts. So anyways, so it's just a little different on assembly. You got to put this stuff, together on the shaft and clamp it in place with this collar independently of this. But I think that should get the job done. We're going to try putting her to work. Hopefully, I got probably a whole day of welding tomorrow. I would say hopefully by Thursday we're putting this thing to work. So I'll let you guys know how it works. You'll probably get to see some video of it in action on that 270 project when we upload video from it. So that's it for now, folks. I guess I'll just add, so if anybody's thinking about buying one of these Chinese facing heads, I should say the fit and finish in many respects is better than I thought it would be. Like they're reasonably flat. They've done a decent job of milling it up, but it's definitely pretty hokey. I mean, this thing is not a winning combination on ladder yards. Like right now, it's locked right back up tight. Like you cannot move it until it's clamped on the bar because this thing is squeezing in the middle. So there's just a lot of things like that where the quality is pretty awful. But that said, for the 300 or whatever, it's $350 and a day's worth of screwing around, if it works, great. I'll say it was money well spent at that point. So anyways, I'll catch you guys on the next video.